A delightful afternoon it is to you. Welcome to Africa Today. My name is Udwak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, Buhari receives Ekiti State Governor-elect. Still on the headlines, Senegal opposition calls for renewed demonstrations. Also on the headlines, East African leaders back deployment of regional force to Congo. And on sports, Eto'o admits tax fraud in Barcelona. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari has received a newly elected governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Oyebanji. The governor-elect was led to the State House by the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, that is the APC, Abdullahi Adamu. Speaking to State House correspondents at the end of the brief visit, the APC chairman thanked the people of Ekiti State and the media for the enormous support to the party, and the party has received before, during, and after the election. Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, who doubled as chairman of the APC Campaign Council for the Ekiti State election, told journalists that President Buhari was very happy with the performance of the APC in the election. Bagudu said the party was well supported in Ekiti because of the performance of the current governor of the state, Kayode Fayemi. He added that the use of bimodal voter accreditation system, that is the BVAS, by the Independent National Electoral Commission, as well as adequate security measures taken by the agencies concerned, led to the successful completion of the election. The governor-elect Biodun Oyebanji denounced his party, the All Progressives Congress, that is the APC, involvement in the widespread of vote buying alleged to have taken place during last Saturday's election that he won. Away from that story, Minister of State for Transportation Senator Gbemisola Saraki has reaffirmed that movement of cargoes through standard rail gauge would begin at the end of this month. Senator Saraki disclosed this during his inspection tour to the ongoing rail track construction project at Apapa Port in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. The transport minister said rail transportation system is indispensable to the economic growth of the country. The transport minister is optimistic that with the rail line being operational, the issue of lingering traffic gridlock within the port corridor would be a thing of the past. It would be recalled that the Ebute Metta to Apapa Port rail track is an extension of the Lagos-Ibadan standard rail gauge, which began in March 2017. In another development, the minister re-echoed the position of the Nigerian Ports Authority, that is the NPA, for the total reconstruction of quay walls of the Tinkan Island port complex, which have become weak due to age. The position is very much in harmony with that of the Managing Director, Nigerian Ports Authority, that is the NPA, Mohammed Bello Koko, who had allayed fears of the imminent collapse of the Tinkan Island Port Complex, as the authority is already at conclusive stages. Bringing you more stories, Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, that is the COAS, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, says the Nigerian Army has intensified its collaboration with sister services and other security agencies to restore normalcy and guarantee the safety of lives and property. He stated this at the opening of the Combat Support Arms Training Week, that is the COSAT 2022, which began in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, on Monday, 20th June 2022. General Yahya said the Combat Support Arms have continued to employ their expertise and unique capabilities to complement the operational endeavors of the combat arms. And also speaking at the event, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, that is the FCT, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, commended and appreciated the Nigerian Army for their contributions, collaboration with other security agencies to keep the nation's capital safe. The Chief of Military Intelligence, Major General D.I. Salihu, and the COSAT Week is an annual event that provides the platform for personnel of the combat support arms to constructively engage, share ideas and experiences, aimed at enhancing effective supports to the NA, that is the Nigerian Army, in tackling the current hydra-headed security challenges. He further stated that the COSAT Week 2022 would further afford the combat support arms the avenue to appraise various core operations and procedures with a view to making necessary adjustments in order to better support NA operations. And now let's get on to Imo State and have you know that the Imo State government has frowned at reports of fraudulent activities in the state's pension scheme and has vowed that soon all issues would be addressed and pensioners would rejoice. This was disclosed by the State Commissioner for Labor, Employment and Productivity, Ford Ozumba, in Owerri, the state's capital. Ozumba, who frowned at reports of fraudulent activities in the board, disclosed that some staffers of the board were responsible for the excesses, but assured that the government had engaged seasoned experts to correct the anomaly. He also expressed hope that soon all the concerns associated with pension payments will be sorted out. The commissioner appealed to workers and pensioners to support government's effort at restructuring the pension system, even as he expressed appreciation to the governance and governance. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Africa Today on Hills TV. Suspected jihadists have massacred more than 130 civilians over the weekend in central Mali. The government announced the deaths on Monday after alarming social media reports talked of houses and huts being burned and of abductions. Local officials described scenes of systematic killings by armed men in Dalasogue, Sago, and two surrounding towns in the Banka Circle, a hotbed of militant violence. Nahom Togo, who lives in the main town in the area, managed to escape the killings. Since 2012, Mali has been rocked by an insurgency group linked to Al-Qaeda and the so-called Islamic State group, plunging the country into crisis. Violence that began in the north has since spread to the center and to neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. Civilians are often subjected to reprisals by jihadists who accuse them of collaborating with the enemy. And now let's get on to Senegal, where Senegal's main opposition leader on Monday called for a fresh demonstration to be held on June 29, despite the previous ones being banned and the ensuing clashes leaving 3 dead. Ousmane Sonko, who came third in the last presidential election, also called on citizens to bang pots and pans in protest of Wednesday. Clashes in Dakar and the southern region of Casamance left 3 people dead, according to local media and the opposition on Friday. Police had banned the protests, citing the risk of unrest. Tensions have been growing since Senegal's highest court on June 3 upheld the decision to disqualify the national list on a technicality. Sonko and other opposition figures who had been on the list are now sidelined from the July 31 election. The opposition has threatened to prevent the vote from taking place if the list is still not reinstated, raising fears that tensions could spill over. Sonko called for their release and encouraged young people to demonstrate spontaneously in their neighborhoods without waiting for June 29. He and the opposition claim the president intends to run again in 2024. We now move to other parts of Africa after this break. Do stay with us. a delight to have you back. East African leaders agreed on Monday to set up a regional force to try to end the conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, that is the DRC, and called for an immediate ceasefire. The announcement was made by the Kenyan presidency at the end of a meeting on Monday in Nairobi of the 7 members of the East African Community, that is the EAC, devoted to the security situation in this very troubled region. Mineral-rich DRC is plagued by dozens of armed groups in the east, most of which are a legacy of 2 regional wars a quarter-century ago. A resurgence of tension in the east in recent weeks has rekindled animosity between the DRC and Rwanda, with Kinshasa blaming its neighbor for the resurgence of the March 23 movement, that is the M23 rebellion, accused of killing at least 26 Congolese soldiers in an attack in January. Kinshasa accuses Kigali of supporting this predominantly Tutsi rebellion, which Kigali denies. The M23 was defeated in 2013 but took up arms again in late 2021, blaming Congolese authorities for failing to comply with an agreement to demobilize and reintegrate its fighters. Clashes between the M23 and the Congolese army have caused thousands to flee to neighboring Uganda. In addition to Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, the meeting was attended by the Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi, Rwandan President Paul Kagame, and as well the leaders of Burundi, South Sudan, Uganda, and the Tanzanian ambassador in Nairobi. Speaking of which, let's get to Kenya and have you know that Kenya has written to Somalia to express regret at the inadvertent and inappropriate presence of the flag of the breakaway state of Somaliland at an event hosted by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Somalia's ambassador to Kenya, Mohammed Ahmed Nur, is reported to have walked out of Tuesday's annual diplomats conference in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. In its letter, Kenya's foreign minister said it reaffirmed its recognition of sovereignty of one federal Somali government and the integrity of the federal Somali state. Somaliland declared independence from Somalia in 1991, although it has not been recognized internationally. It functions like a nation-state with its own passport, currency, flag, government, and army. In a response on social media, its Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it was disappointed about the actions taken by the ambassador of Somalia at the event. The statement said the Republic of Somaliland is a sovereign, independent, and democratic country that aspires to line in peace and tranquility with our neighboring countries, that includes Somalia. Tunisian President Kais Saied received on Monday the first draft of the new constitution. Under his own timeline, Saied has until June 30 to approve or edit the draft constitution, less than a month ahead of the referendum planned by July 25th. The planned referendum marks 1 year since the power grab by Kais Saied that saw him sack the government and suspended an elected parliament. The president's current situation and constitution also wants to replace what was there before and bring about the new product of hard-won 2014 compromise between bitter political rivals, but which enshrined a mixed parliamentary presidential system that often produced political deadlock. The revised constitution is at the center of Said's program for rebuilding Tunisia's political system, more than a decade after the revolution that sparked the Arab Springs uprisings. Islamist Party, Ennahda, and other opposition forces were excluded from Said's national dialogue and have fiercely criticized his roadmap, accusing the president of wanting to impose a constitution tailor-made for his own ambitions. Coming right up next on Africa Today is Business News. Do stay with us. You're tuned to Africa Today on Hills TV. This is business. International Air Transport Association, that is the IATA, has said that Nigerian airlines and others across Africa will lose $700 million in 2022 due to a combination of Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19. This was disclosed at the ongoing 78th IATA Annual General Meeting and World Air Transport Summit in Doha, Qatar. IATA said that inflation, interest, and exchange rates would affect the growth of the aviation industry globally, stressing that countries should learn from the COVID-19 pandemic. The IATA listed risk factors to the aviation sector, including the war in Ukraine and COVID-19. It said that the impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on aviation paled compared with the unfolding humanitarian tragedy. It noted that the war in Ukraine would not escalate beyond its borders, but the rise in fuel costs and a dampening demand due to lowered consumer sentiment would have a negative effect on the aviation sector. To yet another business news story, Nigerians across the country are now paying more for petrol despite the official price still fixed at 162 naira 50 kobo and 165 naira per litre. Independent marketers who started implementing a new price regime of between 170 naira to 190 naira at the weekend insisted on Monday that it would be difficult for them to sell at the official pump price. Besides scarcity of the products resurfacing in Lagos, Akure, Ado-Ekiti, Abeokuta, Jos, among other towns in the southwest, the situation in Abuja worsened at the weekend with long queues at the filling stations where petrol is sold. Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that is the IPMAN, in a statement by its Lagos State Depot, that is the LSD Secretary, Akeem Balogun, said, the current price, there is no marketer that will sell less than 180 naira per litre. Nearly all stations operated by independent dealers in the commercial city did not open to motorists. A source in the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, that is MOMAN, attributed the scarcity to a dislocation in the supply chain. Talking business, but outside the shores of Nigeria, this time let's have you know the military authorities in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is the DRC, have banned anyone from importing or exporting goods via a town on the Ugandan border that was recently seized by rebels. The military governor of North Kivu province said anyone trading through Bunagana town would be considered a collaborator with the M23 rebel group. The rebels recently seized the Bunagana after launching their biggest offensive in a decade. East African leaders have agreed to deploy a regional military force to eastern Congo to counter various rebel groups. The Congolese government has accused Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels. Meanwhile, the Kigali government has denied this. Still to come on Africa Today is sports. Stay with us.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sport News on Africa Today. I am Richard Badung. On the news, federal government through the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development has asked the Nigerian Football Federation to hold election into its executive committee in September. Reports gathered that the tenure of the NFF's current administration ends in September 2022. The sports minister, Sunday Dare, quoted the President Muhammadu Buhari as given the directive in a letter addressed to the NFF President Amaju Pinnick. Buhari was also quoted as directing that the instruments of football administration in the country, the NFF statutes, be amended to include other stakeholders who had hitherto been disenfranchised or denied equal representation in the NFF Congress. He also urged the leadership of the NFF to ensure that the amended status reflects the national yearnings, aspirations, and peculiarities of Nigeria as a sovereign nation, whilst aligning the principles and objectives of football as set by the World Soccer Governing Body, FIFA. Away from that one, Nigeria's Super Falcons has been slated to take on senior women's national team of Japan in an international friendly match at the Novara Stadium, Kobe, on October 6. The date falls within one of the FIFA Women International windows for this year. Nadeshiko Japan, which is the alias of the women national team of Japan, are rated 13th in the world, while the Super Falcons are 39th. Both teams have clashed only once at a competitive level. When they met on August 14, 2004 at the Olympic Women's Football Tournament, Nadeshiko piped the Super Eagles 1-0 at the Karaiskakis Stadium in Piraeus, while two-back friendlies in 2013 were won 2-0 each by the Japanese women's team. Nadeshiko thus became the first team from Asia.
Looks like the goal was begging right there, but she's just going to keep it on
The Super
target.
Falcons are champions of Africa for a record 9 times and have participated at every FIFA Women's World Cup since the competition began in 1991, reaching the quarterfinals in 1999. I'll move away from there, just tell you that Cameroonian football legend Samuel Eto'o has admitted committing multi-million-dollar tax fraud while he was played for the Spanish giants FC Barcelona. A court in the city gave him a 22-month jail term and a fine, but he will avoid going to prison because he pleaded guilty. In total, Eto'o will have to pay back more than $8 million. The court's ruling said Eto'o and his agent had deliberately evaded tax on income from image rights between 2006 and 2009. During his playing days, Eto'o was considered one of the world's top strikers. He is now president of the Cameroonian Football Federation. Still talking sports here, Tunisian tennis star Ons Jabeur on Monday said she cannot wait to team up with Serena Williams as the American star prepares to return to tennis at the Eastbourne International after nearly a year away. Sorry for that technical error there. Williams, a 23-year-time Grand Slam singles champion, was last week handed a singles wildcard entry to Wimbledon, which starts next Monday. And that's sport news on Africa Today. I'm Richard Badung, back to Udwak Daniel for the rest of the news.
Thank you so much, Richard Badung, for that one. And on this note, we call it a close on Africa Today. But before we go, here are the headlines again. We told you that Buhari receives Ekiti State Governor-elect. We also told you Senegal opposition calls for renewed demonstrations. And earlier on the headlines, we said East African leaders back deployment of regional force to Congo. And on sport, Eto'o admits tax fraud in Barcelona. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV. Our YouTube channel is at Hills TV. I am Udwak Daniel. Thank you for watching.